Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur, and welcome to another great episode of the JMOR Tech Talk Show. A little good news I want to share with you. You've been wondering probably what happened to my co-host. So Marcus will actually be joining me around the second or third week of January. So really happy to hear that he'll be coming back to join us. We have definitely missed him on the show, so he's definitely going to come back and we'll be back to our old self as a show that we were with our commentary back and forth. But we still got some great information for you guys. So talking about the show and talking about technology, there's so many things that have been in and out, right? Whether we're talking about the media, we're talking about new insights, or we're talking about spyware, or we're talking about people getting in trouble. There's just so many things happening. And one thing I want to bring to the table is that Twitter recently suspends several journalists for doxing. Now, first of all, you might be saying to me, John, what the heck is doxing? Well, I'm going to go to Merriam Webster for the definition of doxing, because that's probably the best place to get it. It's a transitive verb, and according to Merriam-Webster, it's to publicly identify or publish private information about someone, especially as a form of punishment or revenge. So, recently, Twitter had suspended several journalists for doing this. And so the question is doxing legal? If the information is available in public records, legally acquired, and is not part of a larger harassment or a stalking technique, it's not necessarily illegal to dox someone. But generally, doxing is not allowed on social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. I mean, that just kind of goes. So people say to me, John, how do you prevent doxing? So the legality of doxing depends on how the information was obtained. That's number one. And doxing laws in the U.S. may define doxing as a crime if the data was illegally obtained, or if the doxing attack is linked to cyberbullying or, like I said, harassment. So the U.S. has seen its share of doxing, let's say, gone awry, such as a man dying of a heart attack after his home address was revealed online, and the SWAT team was falsely dispatched to his home. The person responsible for doxing's address was sentenced to 5 years in prison, even though he was not the one to call the police. It's illegal to reveal someone's personal information. Not exactly. If the information in public records exists, it's legally acquired, and is not part of a larger harassment or stalking technique, it's not necessarily illegal to dox someone, as I said before. But generally, doxing is not allowed, as we said, on social media. So there's different types of doxing. There's social media doxing, where you can cyber stalk someone on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, or any other social media platform to gain information about them. Weak privacy settings can reveal your full name, where you live, your phone number, place of work, family member names, even your dog's name. Yes, your dog's even getting on the action. IP doxing. This really comes together with social engineering, and it's when a doxer figures out a target's IP address and uses it to trick the internet service provider into revealing additional private information. That's just really low. Tracking usernames by connecting usernames across mobile websites. Doxers can paint a detailed picture of the person they aim to dox. Phishing, tricking someone into visiting a malicious website or clicking on an infected link. Data brokers are a rich source of shockingly personal data. Data brokers will sell anything to just about anyone. Reverse phone lookups. Doxer can get a phone number, they can get much more. Apps and websites are revealing that reverse phone lookups will promise to reveal home addresses or at least the city where the phone number was registered. Who searches? A freely available tool that identifies the people or peoples behind any website or domain. So, examples, famous doxing cases that you might be familiar with, including Kim Kardashian, Jay-Z, Cardi B, J.K. Rowling, and Donald Trump. So, whenever we're talking about the celebrity doxing incident, celebrities had their social security numbers, mortgage amounts, credit card details, bank information, and even their auto loan details posted online. I mean, this is just pathetic, if you ask me. But yeah, people are going to do it. I mean, it's like the paparazzi. So, what do you do if you are potentially someone who is being doxxed as a victim? Well, there's some steps you can take. If you become a victim of doxing, here's what I recommend: report doxing to the police. Um, Doxing may be considered a cybercrime in your location and should be taken seriously. Doxing is important to be reported before it escalates to a more serious crime that could affect life and also personal property. Report doxing on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media where doxing occurs. And should this have an easy way, people will be able to report or remove information. Use the report abuse button. Very, very important. Change usernames and passwords. Look at info the doxer has on you. Did the dox publicly get the information from social media, or did it get it from some other source? Was it just public information? Inform your bank that you believe you are being doxed. But how do you prevent it? Well, use strong passwords, right? Set up a breach alert through, let's say, different identity protection monitoring services. Connect through a virtual private network or a VPN. Think before you post. Remember, once you post, even though you delete it, it might never go away on the internet. That's important. Close old accounts. So make sure that you have everything scrubbed well, and that there's something you don't want, get rid of it. Protect your personal information, because if you don't protect it, well, someone else will be using it against you. All right, so definitely something. So doxing is not a joke, and I think we all probably know that now. And with Twitter suspending several journalists, basically for he claims the Musk had said that they're doxing of his jet. So just actually yesterday, actually it was yesterday. Twitter on Thursday had suspended the accounts of several prominent journalists who recently wrote about his new owner Elon Musk, with the billionaire tweeting that rules banning the publishing of personal information applied to all, including journalists. Now, responding to a tweet on the account suspension, Musk, who has portrayed himself as a person that's supposed to be allowing freedom of speech, he tweeted, "Same doxing rules apply to journalists as to everyone else." Close quote, a reference to Twitter rules banning the sharing of personal information called doxing. So Musk's tweet referred to Twitter's suspension at the Elon jet, an account tracking his private jet in real time using data available in the public domain. Musk had threatened legal action against the account's operator, saying his son had been mistakenly followed by a crazy stalker. So was it unclear if all the journalists who used the accounts were suspended? Kind of was. But I have to believe there was a reason for it. Twitter did not immediately respond to the request or comment when Thomson Reuters had reached out to them. And it tells me that there's more going on. And I guess we're going to have to see what they're doing. But are they playing fair, or are they just doing what they want to do? Is it really about a freedom of speech and press, or is there some other agenda? I guess that's probably the best way I can put it to you guys. So we'll have to see, what's going on. But this whole thing of, Twitter getting right on the ball, you're probably going to say to me, is Twitter being fair with their doxing laws? Well, the new Twitter rules are a major privacy win for many people, but for Elon Musk's jet, um, the anti-doxing policy, which they made this past Wednesday, Twitter barred users from sharing a person's live location, a broad, vague, and immediately confusing prohibition. The policy amended on the same day, Twitter banned Elon Jet, an account that tracked owner Elon Musk's personal private jet, along with the account of its creator, college sophomore Jack Sweeney. Now, through Sweeney's private account, though now remaining banned, the Elon Jet account was reinstated in the afternoon, but banned again later in the evening. So Twitter keeps making changes, but are they doing something wrong, or are they in the right by actually enforcing this? I'm not really sure, but we're going to have to keep following that because I think that's going to be a very interesting caveat. Well, Nancy said again, yet Nancy Pelosi, undecided on whether to accept TikTok government device ban. What the heck is this all about? I mean, this is crazy. Speaker Nancy Pelosi said just this past Thursday, and I quote, she had yet to decide whether the U.S. House of Representatives will join the Senate in backing legislation to bar federal government employees from using Chinese-owned TikTok on government-owned devices. So my question, ladies and gentlemen, is what the heck is going on here? I mean, is there a reason? Is anything going to happen that's going to help us, right? I think we're going to have to see, what's going on. So Pelosi won't commit to putting the Senate TikTok bill on the House floor before the session ends. And the Senate has unanimously passed the bill, which would ban TikTok from government devices. Now, the bill sponsored by the Republican Senate's Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, and Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas, and Rick Scott, Republican from Florida, and Marco Rubio, Republican from Florida, unanimously passed the Senate this past Wednesday. The legislation would ban the video sharing app on government devices after major security concerns were raised by both Democratic and Republican lawmakers and the Biden administration officials. So when they asked Pelosi, the Democrat of California, she said, and I'll quote, reviewing the legislation and checking with the White House on the language. And she said, and I'll quote, I'll take a look and see. Pelosi said, I don't know if that will be on the agenda next week, but let's see. So the legislation comes amid warnings from the Biden administration officials about the app, and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has warned that there are, and I quote, legitimate national security concerns with regard to TikTok. And the FBI director, Christopher Wray, earlier this month warned that Chinese officials have broad access to TikTok, allowing them to manipulate content and, if they want to, use it for influence operations. Wray also said, and I quote, he is extremely concerned. We will never share data, period, Papa said. But TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a company based in Beijing. The U.S. officials and lawmakers have warned that the Chinese Communist Party could compel the company to turn over American users' data or expose them to propaganda. So TikTok and ByteDance are currently under investigation by the Treasury Department's Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, which evaluates national security risks associated with foreign-owned companies operating in the U.S. or foreign investments in American companies. So we're gonna have to see what happens. I think we have to get an understanding of what's going on. And right now, there may be some propaganda, but is there truth in it? I mean, we all know about the NDA and government not allowing um hike vision. Okay, so the NDAA specifically bans security cameras brands including Dahua, Hike Vision, Hawaii, and the ban also includes any brands that may function under or as part of these companies. So the question people say, John, well, uh, what is an NDAA camera? So there aren't too many that are NDAA, but I can tell you, how do you make sure that your devices are NDAA compliant? So the best way to know if your surveillance is in compliance with the NDAA is to get a comprehensive audit with a security integrator that's experienced in identifying equipment with both approved and banned components. NDAA compliant manufacturers include Avigilon, Access Communication, Bosch, BCD International, Digital Watchdog, FLIR, Mobotics, Seek Thermal, Solinix, Specco, WatchGuard, Vivitech, and 360 Vision Technology. So, what if my cameras aren't NDAA compliant? Well, if you're not a government funded agency or have contracts with government agencies, you're under no obligation to purchase NDAA compliant hardware. It, however, is strongly advised that you use NDAA compliant hardware. In addition, if you're working with a vendor, they should be able to confirm that they exclusively employ components from whitelist sources for cameras, sensors, and other devices. And how to find a security problem might not be something you're concerned about, but it could potentially cause you to be, how can I say, under more scrutiny. And if those companies find out that you are using that technology, well, let's just say not only will there be an audit, but there could be a lot of additional money leaving your hands to handle breaches like cyber fraud and security, which is what happens when we talk about NDAA. All right, so we'll have to see what you're going to do, Nancy. But I don't know. I don't trust what they're doing, and I think we just got to keep an eye on what they're doing. So something else that's really interesting is the Android SID Manager. What the heck is this? So this is on Android phones, and it's named SID Manager or Carrier Identification Manager. Lots of users have complained that this app sends network service providers notifications that cannot be removed, and it creates tons of issues, potential security issues. So the SID Manager is a built-in app on the Samsung smartphones, and it checks if a device has access to country-specific firmware updates by identifying the carrier network, service provider, as well as the device's original design, manufacturing, or the ODM country, and matching it with country-specific codes of the device's firmware. The app enables the phone to match the device's network providers with their countries of origin to allow the device to get updates. Okay, so the SID Manager is a little complex, maybe to understand, but it's pretty straightforward. Every device has its country of design or the ODM, and depending on the country in which it's used, the device will have a specific carrier network or the service provider. Now, there are specific codes that link both the service provider and the ODM country to get firmware updates. These codes are simply called the country-specific code, like we said before. Now, the SID Manager has service provider's number and acts as a bridge between the carrier network and the ODM, which again is the original design manufacturing country, to detect access country-specific firmware updates. That's basically its goal. Is the manager safe? So the app definitely has access to your phone and the network provider, but they claim it does not spy on your activities. SID managers are critical to the phone's functionality and allows your device to have country-specific firmware updates. Um, so how do you solve the SID manager new service provider notification issue? Disable the SID Manager app using the Package Disabler Pro. First of all, download and install the Package Disabler Pro app on your Android device. Now search for SID Manager using the search button in the top bar. Select SID Manager app and click on Disable. You can confirm it by saying yes, and you should be good to go. There's another way you can do it. It's the Flash Stock ROM. First of all, you need to download the stock firmware files for your Android device from a firmware file downloading website. After that, flash the downloaded firmware files using a firmware flashing tool. And there's another way. It's called uninstalling the SID manager using the ADB. So the ADB brings up a Unix shell, so you can issue commands directly on the Android device to use the ADB, and you'll need a Windows PC. It's really simple. Just go to the About phone under Settings and System, click on the build number 7 times to activate the developer options. Now go back to the main settings menu and tap on developer options to open it. You'll need to enable the USB debugging by tapping on that as well. After that, download the ADB onto your PC and simply then extract the zip file into a folder. Open the folder, press and hold the Shift button, and right-click in a blank area. Now you have to click on the Open PowerShell and then enter the command ADB space devices. Once done, connect your Android device to the PC using a USB cable and set the USB mode as file transfer. After successful connection, you'll receive a USB debugging notification on your phone. Tap on the OK to allow debugging access and now re-enter the command ADB devices. You should now see the serial number of your device on the PowerShell window. In the end, run the command ADB space shell space PM space uninstall space dash USER space 0, all lowercase. And then also you need to put after the 0 com.samsung.android.sid manager. And wait a few seconds, and you'll notice the app has been uninstalling it from your device. So I get why they have it, but I can see that it could maybe annoy a few people, that it might not be the right thing, and it could have some security concerns. Oh, wow. So the U.S. government charges 8 social media influencers with pump and dump. What the heck is that? So the Securities Exchange Commission has charged several Twitter users and podcasters in alleged $100 million stock manipulation scheme, all run through social media. And this was just learned this past Wednesday. And according to the SEC, the Twitter users also used the messaging app Discord to promote certain stocks to hundreds of thousands of followers, and then quietly sold their positions after a run-up in the stock prices. Now, this scheme dated back to at least 2020 and involved a nationwide network of participants, including 4 of the defendants who reside in Texas, 2 in California, and 1 in New Jersey, and 1 in Florida. Now, the podcaster named in the case allegedly engaged in the illicit trading scheme and promoted the other defendants as expert traders, according to the SEC. Now, CNN reviewed a number of archived tweets belonging to one of the defendants, and the account associated with the defendant tweeted frequently last May about GameStop and AMC, 2 so-called meme stocks that saw significant public interest and trading last year. Now, the SEC compliant calls for the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Texas to impose fines and to require that the defendants give up their allegedly ill-gotten gains, along with a ban on future misconduct. Altogether, the defendants had more than 1.5 million Twitter followers. 2 of the defendants allegedly ran a group on Discord known as Atlas Trading, launched in 2018, and the Atlas Group had grown to 150,000 members by early last year, according to a copy of the SEC complaint. So I guess, social media is important, but I think you have to be careful who you trust on social media, especially when it comes to people asking you about your money. I think that could be a really, really serious problem. So we're going to keep you in the loop about that. But I've always told you that, you shouldn't use social media to share personal information. We've talked about that before. And if you understand that, then you certainly would know that you should not be getting or sending bills through social media. And if you do, make sure that you encrypt them because you're exposing potential information. That's PHI, PI for personal information, or PHI for personal health information. And that could have lots of implications and fees and costs that might get you into a little more than some warm water. So do be careful about that. All right. So I think the big issue coming up right now is lawmakers want answers on Uber drivers allegedly transporting drugs. What the heck? So GOP lawmakers want answers from Uber about drivers that were allegedly transporting drugs. A Republican said, and I quote, "who are poised to take control of the House, sent a letter to Uber with questions about how the company prevents drug dealers from using its services." House Republicans sent a letter not too long ago to Uber asking the tech company to explain what steps it's taking in response to the driver's complaints that they're being asked to deliver packages they suspect to be drugs. So I think we're going to have to see what they're going to do, but I have to say that it's a problem. And they quote, "however, this new innovative method for transporting essential goods may also be taken advantage of by bad actors looking to move illegal or harmful products to the unwitting Americans, including children," close quote, they wrote. Now, Uber did not immediately respond to the request for comment on the letter, which we learned from NBC News. A spokesperson for McMorris Rogers said she would be sending letters to other delivery companies, including Alto, Lyft, and Roadie. These companies did not immediately respond to the request for comment. So, as one of the lawmakers wrote, and I quote, "just as we have asked social media companies to do their part to curb the sale of drugs on their platforms, Uber must act to ensure Uber Connect is not used to transport untracked shipments of illicit drugs to Americans." So I think this is pretty sad that this has to be done, but I get it. I know why it has to be done. There are a lot of people out there that will just do anything to make a buck. They don't care if they harm you. They don't care if they lie to you. They don't care about anything. All they care about is themselves. So I really do hope that we're able to get some answers. Maybe if there's a package and it's suspected, maybe the package needs to be opened, and the driver has to verify what's in it. And if he doesn't, he could be brought up on charges. Maybe that's the situation, or they're going to have to get out of the package transportation business. I think that's really, what's going on. So I know, ladies and gentlemen, that it can sound crazy with what we're talking about, but in the long and the short, you know, people will find loopholes, right? They just will. And so if they're going to find loopholes, we as Americans, as business owners, we have to make sure that those loopholes are not exploited in a way that could harm us or harm other people we care about. Now, when we think about, let's say, legal business, right? A legal business is following protocol. But what if they had to transport drugs from a hospital to another hospital to a patient? That can get sticky. But then it almost reminds me of something that Lyft did many years ago. When I had a friend that drove for Lyft, he had to have the manifest of the person that he was picking up or he was not allowed to pick up. They've gotten a little more lax with that. Why? I don't know. But it has me concerned. It has me concerned because I know that if we don't respond to what's going on, there could be a serious problem, big problem. So if you're thinking this only happened on Uber, well, think again. So there was a situation that arose. not too long ago. Um, when a Lyft passenger was caught with 5 pounds of meth in Norman. Now, it's not just United States; it's all over the country. And shortly just before noon on that day, a Norman police officer stopped a Lyft driver for speeding near the intersection of Robinson Street and Porter Avenue. And then they also got into more trouble. So the responding officer noticed the backseat rider was acting nervous and evasive when answering questions, according to a probable cause affidavit. And so they started questioning her, and she had a purse and a box in her lap and a postal service box. When the officer asked her what was inside the box, she told him she did not know. At that point, she became frantic, according to the affidavit. So, had she not been acting so erratic, she wouldn't have drawn attention to herself, but in this case, she did. Now, a police canine was actually deployed on the vehicle, and the canine identified drugs inside the box. Before the package was opened, Kelly then had admitted that she knew it was illegal and contained dope, as she quoted, close quote. She was going to distribute it at some point in time, and this was not a personal amount. So the person claimed that she picked up the package from a friend's house nearby, and the police discovered 5 pounds of meth inside when they searched the box. So Kelly, the lady, now faces aggravated drug trafficking charges, and she'll be looking at a mandatory sentence within. She will have to serve a certain amount of time if she's convicted. And yes, they're going to take these charges very seriously, and she'll be pushing for a significant sentence in this length, especially in the case. And she was held in Cleveland jail on a $40,000 bail. I just don't get why people would do this. There was another situation in July. This guy is under investigation for making a joke about dealing drugs using Lyft. In conclusion, do not use Lyft to sell drugs. Do not use Lyft to make a joke about selling drugs. Because if you do, that could be a big problem. And this is not a joke. This is very, very serious business. So this person who's a 25-year-old from Atlanta, he works in IT, I guess, unfortunately. He infrequently was a Lyft rider, and he told BuzzFeed News just recently he became embroiled, quote unquote, with the company in a way he never expected. He explained that he just watched an episode of the TV show Power when he had a musing about Lyft drivers using the app to support their drug deals. He then tweeted what he claimed to be an absolute joke using Lyft to sell drugs, and Power recently was looking at the app thinking, imagine if you were a Lyft driver and you pick up people you're intentionally distributing to. No one would see it. He added, I was referring to Lyft drivers, but I was joking. See, you can't joke about things like this. However, his joke did not translate at all with Lyft. It escalated to a more serious matter when the company's online support team asked for his phone number. Can you DM us your phone number? He saw Lyft's response to his tweet. He laughed. I was thinking there's no way in the world I'm going to give you my number, he said. Lyft has, of course, since deleted their correspondence with him. So the company was able to match this person's Twitter with his actual Lyft account. And they said his account was instantly suspended, and he soon received an email stating that there is an active investigation into him and his account. Lyft is investigating a potential violation of the community guidelines. And because our community safety is Lyft's highest priority, the person has deactivated the account while we investigate. They say, I know this is difficult in the situation and time, but it's our policy to investigate all reports like this. During this time, you'll be unable to use the Lyft platform. A Lyft trust and safety specialist may email you soon about our investigation. Send all communication as replies to this email thread. The trust and safety team doesn't take inbound phone calls for the quickest and most thorough response. So he was suspected that the company was able to identify who he was from an old and a brief customer service exchange he had with Lyft via Twitter previously. Quote, I think they looked at my old DMs from a long time ago, he said, close quote. Quote, I was like, yo, this is crazy. I'm under investigation. This has to be a joke, he added. I guess they were being pretty resourceful and determined that I was selling drugs, close quote. Confused, he tweeted back at the company. He admits he was being a little facetious as he was still reeling from how quickly things had escalated. Unfortunately, according to Uber's legal terms, their policies on using Ubers to commit crimes are stated even more clearly than Lyft's. So he tweets, yo, ask Lyft, I know you're not dead. I'm not going to repeat this with this. Again, bad comments. Uber would never do me like this. I demand a refund for all my, and he was not too nice. So the competing ride-sharing company lists several examples of breaking the local law while using Uber, like using Uber to commit a crime, including drug and human trafficking, or the sexual exploitation of children. So Lyft, on the other hand, does not explicitly state policies pertaining to specific crimes or drug dealing, but under their list of restricted activities, they prohibit violating any law, statute, rule, permit, ordinance, or regulation. So Lyft has said, and this is what they have in their terms, Lyft has the good faith belief that such action is necessary to protect the safety of the Lyft community or third parties, provided that in the event of a deactivation pursuant to Section 1 or 3 above, you'll be given notice of the potential or actual deactivation and an opportunity to attempt to cure the issue to Lyft's reasonable satisfaction prior to Lyft's permanently terminating the agreement with you. Person said he felt he did not have to dispute the issue because he believed eventually they'll realize I never sold a drug in my life, let alone tell the world I'm doing it. The passenger's account is disabled or locked. They must contact Lyft support to continue. I can't believe they're going to indict me over Twitter, he said. As of Friday morning, his account is still suspended. I don't really care that much. I'm sure they'll realize I'm not a Lyft driver, he added. I know they got to do whatever investigation they got to do. When reached, Lyft told BuzzFeed, and I quote, news that they were just following protocol when they discovered his tweet. Safety is our top priority, quote, a spokesperson said in the statement. Given the nature of his tweets, we deactivated this user in order to investigate what's going on. The company did not respond to questions about his account, if it was tracked, and what current status of the investigation, if it was still pending or if it was dismissed. In the meantime, over the tweet, there were a lot of people that were very entertained and also very confused. So, as he said, I think they got nervous and saw how many people were laughing at it. And then he said, quote, they tried to shut down the operation real quick and make an example of this. So I think what this is trying to tell us is you don't screw around with social media, just like you don't go to the airport and use words that you would not want to use, especially that would threaten them. You don't want to do that because they don't know whether you are in a right mind. So they have to take you as though you're doing this seriously. And they have to take everything they hear as a legitimate threat, even if it's not a legitimate threat. I think this goes to show you that, we can't always reach these companies, and I'm not always in love with these companies that drive, but, I really believe that they're trying to do the right thing for myself as a passenger and for other people as drivers so that they can keep a safe community. I think one thing that might need to happen is that when they're transporting or when they're doing something, I think like a package, I think there should be some kind of a way that a package is being requested. And when that happens, there has to be some more validation that takes place. And if it doesn't, by the driver can be liable. But if the driver does it and finds that everything is fine, great. But if he finds there's a problem, he's not in trouble. long as he reports everything, and then the local authorities get involved. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, been a pleasure, been an honor to be with you this amazing day, December 16th here. Almost thinking it's Saturday, but it's December 16th. And, I'm going to be back with you guys on December 23rd next week. And then we only have one more week after that. And then we're out of this year. 2 more weeks, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be in 2023. Can you believe that? If you'd like to be a guest on the JMOR Tech Talk Show, please go to jmor.com, click on Reach Out Today. Apply to become a guest. Remember, we do not accept everybody. And the reason for that is we want value on a show. We don't want people that are just here to sell or people that are here to create schemes or people that are here to manipulate us. I think that's really a big concern for our safety team. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I hope that you will know that the JMOR Tech Talk Show is here to help you guys, keep you educated, make sure you don't get into trouble, and most importantly, share what you need to know about technology so you can have a more healthy, happy, prosperous, enjoyable life. I'll see you guys next week on December 23rd. If I don't see you in another JMOR video or JSIM Academy or Orbital Media, check out more of my great content at believemeachieve.com. There's so much stuff I produce, and I'd love you to check it out. Have yourself a great rest of your weekend.